Hello, grade 10. Activity 5.11, page 114. So we have to open this program, test numbers, and the generate button. We're going to generate two random numbers, and we have been given global variables for them. Y, global variables rnum1 and rnum2. The reason is because we're going to use them in these other three buttons over here, odd or even, factor, and which is smaller. So we go to the generate button, click event, and we're going to say rnum1 or rnum1 equals random range. What must the range be? From 1 to 35. So we'll put in 1, 36. Then we're going to say randomize, because we want to have a different random number for rnum2. Random range, open brackets 1, 36, semicolon. We could put randomize in front of rnum1 too, and hopefully that will allow us to have two different random numbers. And before we use that, we must make sure we have math as a unit in the uses section added there. So you've got to go type that in there. Right, now we're going to move on to odd or even. Now we have to show a message. There's no other display component. So we'll use a show message component to show if either one of those numbers is odd or even. So we're going to say if rnum1 mod 2 equals 0, and that is basically getting the remainder after dividing by 2. If the remainder is 0, when we divide by 2, mod returns the remainder. And remember that there's an integer there, an integer here, and an integer there. Now mod is an operator, not a function. It's an operator. It's used instead of a divided sign. If we divide, then we're going to get a decimal point number. If we use mod, we will get the remainder. If we use div, we'll get the whole number after dividing by 2. But we're going to use mod now. And if it is 0, then we'll show a message and int to string. We're going to show the number rnum1 plus, and then the space is even. Because if it's 0, then the number is even. Else, it'll show a message that rnum1 is odd. Semicolon. Now take note, there's no semicolon before else. Now we're going to do the same with rnum2. So highlight everything, Control C, click over here, Control V to paste. So rnum2 is now the number we are testing to see if there's a remainder, and if there is no remainder after dividing by 2, then it's even, otherwise it is odd. Right, so that's that one done. Next one, we want to know if the question was display test if the first number is a factor of the second number. So we want to know if the first number can go into the second number, so we're going to say rnum2 and divide that by rnum1. But we're not going to divide, we want to see if there's a remainder after division. So if rnum2 mod rnum1 equals 0, in other words, if rnum1 can go into rnum2 without any remainder, then we know that rnum1 is a factor of rnum2. So we'll show a message int to string rnum1, and join that to a message is a factor of space, and then join that to into string rnum2. We want to display the number as well. Now we're going to do the same. Well, that's it. No, else. No, we've got to have an else part. We've got to say else, so get rid of the semicolon before else, no semicolon before else. Else we'll say that rnum1 is not a factor So I just copied and pasted, and I said num1 is not a factor of into string num2. And remember, there's no semicolon before else. Next one, which is smaller? Well, that's easy here. If num1 is less than num2, then show message into string num1, and then is less than space, and join that to into string num2, and make sure you close your brackets, and then we're going to have an else. We will show a message that num2 is less than num1. If we didn't, we could always just say, you know, let's rather just display the word num1, you know, instead of the actual number, but it doesn't matter. We're learning as less so. There we go. We're learning how to display an integer in a show message component. Right, now the next one, get 3 numbers. Well, we've got to generate 3 numbers, and they must be in the range from 1 to 20, and we're going to display them in the edit boxes when we generate them. So, and the 3 numbers are also global because we're going to use it in the button for a range. So if we're going to use a variable somewhere else, we must make them global, and they already have declared all of these variables here for you, ranum and rbnum and rcnum, and we're going to generate the number random range from 1 to 20, so it's 1, 21, and we want to put randomize in front, and let's hope that's going to make sure that we don't get a duplicate numbers. And I'm going to copy and paste because I've got to generate 3 numbers, rbnum and rcnum, and then we're going to put them in the edit box. edta.text must hold box number A into string. Don't forget to convert to a string if you're going to display an integer anywhere on the form. And the edit box can also be used for display, as you can see. edta.text. Then we're going to do edtb and edtc. All I have to do now is just change the letters from A to B and to C, and that was quick. And that is how you can save time in a test or an exam. Now the last one is more difficult. Now if you run the program, you'll see you'll have 3 numbers in each edit box. Let's see what my errors are. I forgot to close my brackets here. The show message component, the show message procedure, remember it's a procedure because you're only just doing something, there's no equal sign involved there. Can you see the procedure has to have a big string and close the brackets, so I have to close the brackets here too. So you have to make sure you have all your brackets in place. So we can do this one as well. 17 is odd, 19 is odd, factor, which is smaller, get 3 numbers, there they are, and now the arrange one has got to arrange them in order. So it's rather irritating that last B and C are the same numbers, but we're going to assume that they're different. Now there's an algorithm for doing that, and it's quite tricky, so let's have a look at our numbers. Let's say these are the 3 numbers, 1, 4 and 3. So here is an algorithm that we use to find out which is the smallest of the, we're going to go from the highest to the lowest. We have to go from the highest to the lowest. So I'm going to arrange these A, B. I'm thinking those, instead of writing ranum and rbnum, I just wrote A, B and C here. And we first check A with B, and then we check A with C. That's the order. We check, is A less than B? So if A is less than B, they're going to swap it around. So A is now going to be B's value, and B must be A's value. Okay, so that's what will happen after this. Then we check if A is less than C, and if it is, then we'll swap it, but it's not. Then we check, is B less than C? If B is less than C, then we're going to swap it around. Now, how do we swap? Well, we have to have a temporary variable, so I'm going to call it iTemp. To swap, okay, to swap, let's say we go back to how it was. To swap A with B, we set iTemp equal to one of them. iTemp, let's make iTemp equal A. Okay, so we let iTemp equal A. Right, so iTemp equals A. I'm going to put iTemp here as a column. So iTemp is now going to be A, whatever A's value is, which is 4, not so? So that is doing that. Then we set A's value equal to B's value. We're going to say A must be equal to whatever B is. So A is now 1. Then we're going to set B equal to iTemp. So B is now going to be 4. See how we did that? We use another variable, we keep it in one place, we keep a temporary variable which is going to hold A in the meantime, so that we can go and put B's value into A, and then we go and use, and B is going to be whatever temp was. Now this is called the swap algorithm, which you must know about. And we're going to use it for all of this. Now let's put it in code. Right. We're going to say if RA num is less than RB num. And the reason why is because I want A's box to hold the variable A. The variable A must hold the highest number. No. Actually, no, it must hold the highest number, mustn't it? If A is less than B, we want the variable A to hold the highest number, because we want EDT A to hold the highest number, EDT B to hold the second highest number, and EDT C to hold the third highest number. So we mustn't do less than, we must do greater than. Let's see how this algorithm will work. Because I'm going from lowest to highest here now. But that's not, no, I want to have lowest. No, it must be less than. Sorry. Let's try it again with a different set of numbers. Yes, this is going to take a while. We'll use the less than symbol. Let's change the numbers. Let's work with some different numbers here. Let's say this is 2, and let's say this is 4, and let's say this is 3. Right. Is A less than B? Right, it is. Then we're going to swap. Okay, so we have temp equals A. Okay. A is going to be whatever B is, so that's going to be 4. And then B is going to be equal to whatever temp is, which is 2. Right, so that's what the variables will look like once we swap them around. Then we're going to go and check, is A less than C? No, it's not. So we're not swapping anything. Then we check, is B less than C? Yes, it is. So we say temp equals B, which is actually 2. And then we say B equals whatever C is, because we've put B's value in a temporary place. And then we say C must be equal to whatever B was. So let's say we've done temp equals B, which is 2. Then we say B is now equal to C, so it's 3. We've got temp sitting there safely. and then we say C was equal to temp, so that is true. 2, sorry, true, 2. Yep, it's quite tricky, but we're going to put it into code now and maybe it'll be more understandable. Is A less than B, then we must make a variable. Let's go make it local, so we don't need it global. iTemp colon integer. They had a variable over here in the code called iKeep, but we're not going to use it, so I deleted it over there, so we're not using it. We're using our temp, which must be local because we're not going to use any other button. Then we say begin and end. Now we must use begin and end. We're going to do a lot of things. We're going to do 3 things actually. We set our temp equal to whatever our a num is. Okay. And then we set our a num going to be equal to whatever our b num is. And then our b num must be equal to the temporary variable, which was a originally. So we set our temp to equal what a is, and then we replaced a with whatever b is, and then we set b to our temp, which was originally a, and that is your swapping algorithm. Now we've got to go and check if our a num is less than our c num, and then we're going to use our temporary variable again. We only need one temporary variable, so we set our a num equal to our temp equal to our a num, and then our a num is now equal our c num, and then our c num must be equal to our temp. Then the next one is to test if b is less than c. So if our b num is less than our c num, then we're going to do a swap algorithm. Temp is our b num, and then our b num is going to be equal to our c num. Our b num is going to be equal to our c num, and our c num equal to our temp. So, and you just have to remember the swap algorithm, and remember that you're going to start with the first box and compare it with b, and then compare it with c, and then you take b and compare it with c. That is your swapping, your sorting. We're sorting it from highest to lowest. So you take a, compare it with b and c. Okay, that's what we've done. We checked if a was less than b, and then we checked if a was less than c. Then you go to b and you check if b is less than c, and then each time you do your swap algorithm. Right, and then we have to go, and now all we have to do is say edt a.text is our interstring our a num, edt b.text. I'm going to copy and paste this code because we've got our a num variable holding the right number now because we did swapping with the variables. So all we have to do is just go and use the same code to display number a and b and c in the right edit boxes a, b, and c. Now let's see if it works. And let's hope we don't have b and c with the same numbers again, because that really is irritating. Oh, good, it hasn't. But now it was automatically, oh no, there it's arranged. There it has arranged. Right, so that works 100%, and try it by yourself.